Welcome to the Church Security Answer Man video blog, where it's all about ministry safety, security, and making a difference for people. And now, your host, a former law enforcement officer, criminal justice trainer, and security expert, Captain Joe Puckett.
Talking to you today, I want to show you some things that we have the podcast, we have the written areas, but there's some things that I think are best relayed in our video in ways that we can see things a little bit differently, or you and I can focus on them just a little bit differently. So I'm going to talk to you today about an area that is very important. It's about evaluating the situation. I think that becomes very, very important. In the situation where there's an emergency or something dangerous or suspicious, oftentimes our brains will freeze up on us. It's a normal part of the limbic process when we have some sort of problems. So our brain freezes up on us. So I want to give us this opportunity to think about evaluating the situation, whether I work in the front office of the church, or I work in the back area, or I work in maintenance, or I'm a part of the security team, or I'm an usher. I want to make sure that we discuss evaluating what we see based on my experience, from law enforcement experience, criminal situations. I want us to talk about that and how we're going to deal with emergencies. So the first thing you see is this slide presentation here that shows odd, suspicious, and dangerous. Those are the ways that I think that we can accurately look at these items and make quick judgments. It's what am I seeing? What am I experiencing? That's very important. So we start with odd. What is odd? What is something that's odd? It's weird. It's different. Maybe somebody's doing differently from what they do normally, or you being around the church office or the ministry facilities or the services, you know what generally most people are doing or how those facilities look. Maybe if you're even the maintenance person that's working late at night, you know how things look so normally, or who's there and who shouldn't be there. So those are the things that maybe begin to look weird to you. Different. So that's odd. Then we look at suspicious. It's not normal. It makes you feel uneasy. It makes you feel uncomfortable. So it's going to be something a little bit more out of the norm, but it's at a different level, a little more serious. It makes you feel uneasy inside. So that's a suspicious. Now dangerous. We get into talking about in dangerous, we become aware of incidents, or we see something that's going on. That emotions are involved, that weapons are seen, or weapons are implied that they're going to be used, or that someone implies they have a weapon, or that because of the things that are threatened that there's potential injury. Those are the things that we want to consider as dangerous. And all of this is in preparation for reaction. That's what we're talking about, is preparing to react to something. So how are we going to react? So if you look at the diagram or you look at the chart, looking at odd, remember that's something that is weird. It's just not quite right, but it doesn't make you feel uncomfortable or uneasy. So with this, I certainly recommend that we're talking with other people about it. So we're talking about the situation. We talk with coworkers, co-security people, maybe our church leaders, ushers, whatever it might be. You have that discussion with them about something odd that you know, that you feel something's weird. So maybe have that discussion, and maybe between two or three of you having this discussion, you decide that maybe somebody else needs to know about it as well. So then we move up to suspicious. So it's suspicious. Remember, it makes you feel uneasy, makes you feel uneasy inside. So maybe a little bit more in this area. You have to decide. This is the area, really, the middle area, where you have to do self-evaluation of what you see. Should you call 911, or should you tell a leader or a security person, or what should you do? So in some of our training, we'll talk about some of our discussions about having non-emergency phone numbers available for police and fire. This might be a time where you decide, well, I'm not going to call 911, but I'm going to call the non-emergency police number and let them know what's going on. So again, hopefully somebody else involved and you can have this discussion. But if it makes you feel uneasy, I'd recommend you start thinking about calling 911. At the dangerous level now, as we look at this slide, generally, if you perceive a situation as dangerous, remember that's involving emotions, weapons seen or weapons implied, and then there's potential for injury in this situation. That's something that I believe you should call 911 about. So very, very important that we notify them. They need to be involved. There may be reasons why we want to help protect our people or yourself, those kinds of things. So we need to call. We need to make that phone call and alert authorities, people that are trained to deal with this stuff, let them know so that they can react and respond. Sometimes, even in this dangerous stuff, it may be somebody that we know. Maybe there's a domestic dispute within our church, something like that. But if it reaches that criteria, we need to get other people involved because it's dangerous. It's a dangerous situation. So as you evaluate now, we're just quickly running through this as part of the video blog. As you evaluate, what do you see? So I give you an example here. A person sitting in a car. They're kind of observing your facility. Maybe it even looks like they're taking some pictures or using binoculars. How does that look? What does that mean in the situation? Hopefully that looks odd to suspicious to you. These days, especially after all these terrorist attacks that we've had, those kinds of issues, most of us have come to the point to realize that somebody that's doing surveillance on us might not just be an innocent private investigator. It might be something more serious. So does it make you feel uneasy, suspicious? Is it just odd? You have to decide that. Next, we look at that same person, and not only now have they been surveilling things and looking at things, maybe looking at our building, taking pictures, but now they're outside of their vehicle and they're going around checking doors on either our ministry facility or maybe a facility across the street, whatever that may be. It's within view of your work. So now what do we think? I hope that takes you to a place of being a little more serious. It should make you feel uneasy. So suspicious for sure. So what are you going to do about that at that point? It's making you feel uneasy. It's way out of the ordinary. So what are you going to do? You have to decide, is that a 911 call, or do you call your ministry leader or your security supervisor, or what do you do with that information? So, and last, maybe because you start discussing this with someone else, suddenly you guys realize, you folks in the front office or the part of the security team realize this was somebody that was wanting to get some money earlier in the week. They were in the office or they were discussing it with you, and when they didn't get all that they had hoped to, they got angry. They were harassing you. They were angry, those kinds of things. So now what level does that put that at? You put all this together, they're watching you or they're watching something. They're checking doors that are locked, and now you realize this is a person that had an issue with you earlier in the week. I hope that brings you to a serious level, suspicious strongly to maybe even dangerous as you analyze this. So what are you going to do with that? I think this is a definite 911 call. So somebody else needs to come that's trained to deal with this kind of stuff and check this guy out and be made aware that he's causing an issue for you. We look at this next incident, a male. You've not seen him before. He enters the auditorium and walks down the aisle as the pastor begins his sermon or the priest begins to give his information. The man has a walking stick and walks all the way down to the front and sits right in front of the pastor on the front row of seats. What do we have here? Out of the norm, probably for most of your churches. Hopefully, maybe you consider taking sticks and holding sticks for people unless they're an actual cane or something that they need for walking. So, but if not, probably out of the ordinary. So hopefully we're watching him, or maybe even asking somebody to go down and sit in the front near that person. So that in case they do something, there's somebody there to intervene right away and protect the ministry leader. Now, as part of that, so hopefully it's at least odd to suspicious for you. Now, one of the children's ministry leader tells you that part of the way through the service, this is when she comes to you, that she saw a suspicious man with a walking stick talking to himself in the parking lot and yelling, maybe even, or talking loudly about how he hates churches and hates preachers. What level does this put this at now? You don't see that, but now you're starting to put things together. I hope this is a strong suspicious for you as you begin to evaluate this situation. Maybe even because of that stick and because he went right up front, maybe this becomes a little bit more of just a basic suspicious. Now you have a potential weapon involved in the situation in that stick. So maybe this is getting to be borderline dangerous. You have to evaluate that, though. Now we look at this clip of this box, just a box. It's sitting at the front door of your ministry or your office maybe as you come in on a morning getting ready for work, and you see it has no markings on it, no postal markings. How do your packages normally get delivered? There's nothing on this. So how does your inter-office stuff normally get delivered? We know how our general packages get delivered. There's postage markings on them, different addresses, those kind of things. So what do you see in that video clip, and what does it say to you? Hopefully that's a strong suspicious. We have to respect, because of these days, people use boxes sometimes or suspicious packages to do damage. So if that's the case, this has got to be a strong suspicious to a dangerous situation, and I more lean towards the dangerous because of society and because of the way things happen. So I would strongly recommend that you're very cautious with this and that you probably alert law enforcement about this. I certainly would, because it doesn't have the normal markings on it, and it doesn't go along with normally the way somebody might deliver a box to me or something. So it's not the norm. I would be very cautious, and I would alert law enforcement to that. So next, let's take a look at this video clip. We see a gentleman that comes in, sits down, has got a backpack. Maybe not suspicious in your ministry area if you're downtown, or you minister near a campus or something where everybody's got backpacks. Maybe this isn't suspicious. Maybe for some of you it is. But as you watch him, you watch his body language, you watch him looking around, tends to look a little stressed maybe by his body language. And then what do you see him doing? What's your evaluation of the situation? He still continues to look around. Very, very suspicious. And now we see him doing some sort of maybe placement with that backpack. So hopefully odd to suspicious to you already, strong suspicious. And now what do we see? We see him actually leaving. So we didn't create this situation, but I would call this a dangerous situation. We watched him looking around. We saw a little bit of body language that says he's stressed. And then we see him actually place the backpack in a specific location as he's looking around and then walk out. That to me, it's not your fault. It's society these days. People use backpacks for dangerous situations, to kill people, to disrupt things. And so I strongly recommend to you that this is a dangerous situation. Law enforcement should be called. And yes, they're probably going to bring out a bomb squad that's going to blow this backpack up. But all of us should know on his side, the guy that we were watching on his side, he should know. He should know, as you look at that clip, that if he leaves his backpack these days, that's not a good thing to most people. So we need to pay attention to it, and all around we need to respect that. We need to respect that we don't leave our backpacks laying around these days, and we need to respect that people do bad things with backpacks these days. So it's your consideration, but I would recommend that this is a dangerous situation. So I want to thank you for joining me for the Church Security Answer Man video blog. I hope you'll join me. You can get information. We have written blogs. We have podcasts, radio shows, and other information, briefing training that you can use with your personnel. All of it's free and available to you at churchsecurityanswerman.com. I hope you'll join me there. You can join me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, getting information that you need. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for watching the Church Security Answer Man video blog. Get more by joining us anytime at churchsecurityanswerman.com.